The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Welcome, everyone, to Wrestling to the Max's SmackDown Live Review for March 28th, 2017. And this is the week of WrestleMania. And this, of course, is the go-home show for SmackDown. And this is going to be a very awesome episode. We'll be getting into everything that leads up to that special day of WrestleMania. But before that, we'll need to let you guys know, if you want to find all the other great reviews that we do, make sure you go check out W2Mnet.com. It gives you all the reviews that we do, all the different podcasts. And, of course, don't forget, it's got a lot of awesome written content for you guys. So go check out W2Mnet.com. Also, go subscribe to Wrestling to the Max. That's going to give you all the stuff that we have to offer when it comes to just W2M. And also, don't forget, rate, review, do that for us, and it kind of helps us out. So, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn. Of course, with me is Mr. Paul Leazar.
Hey-o.
And boy, Paul, here we are again, and this is the actual final show for WrestleMania itself. Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested in really getting into this because we were seeing a lot of different things going on the Raw review, but now SmackDown has their version, and there's a lot to get into here.
Boy, I tell you what, after what we talked about on the Raw review, especially in relation to SmackDown, we got a whole ton to talk about. So if you haven't listened to me and Gary doing Raw yesterday, go do that because, one, it's a good time. We get into a lot of stuff. But, two, it has some relevance into what we're going to talk about today, mostly with what I want to start off with as sort of a very large disappointment on my end. And that's, we talked a lot yesterday, Gary, about how much we really wanted him to come out strong and have a great women's segment to sort of set up everything going into WrestleMania to get us set for however many women match it was going to be for the SmackDown Championship. And really all that happens is they open with Becky Lynch taking on, or they don't open the show, but they have Becky Lynch take on Carmella, who's got James Ellsworth with her. The crowd no longer cares about Ellsworth. Shocker. They still don't care about Carmella. Another shocker there. And then Becky comes out, gets a lot of energy, and then they fight for about 2 minutes before they end up fighting all over the place after Alexa Bliss and Mickie James out on commentary get into a huge argument that starts a brawl, and it works its way into the ring, and it's chaos. And that leads us to a tag team match play. Becky Lynch teams up with Mickie James, takes on Carmella and Alexa Bliss. They go another 10 minutes or so. Natalya comes out. Sort of interrupts everything. First she gets on commentary for like a hot minute and then jumps into the ring, and we get a whole big chaotic mess once again after Carmella and Alexa Bliss end up defeating Becky and Mickie after a distraction from Ellsworth. And after that, Naomi makes her big return, runs wild on everybody, and to this, the crowd in Richmond here was super hot for a lot of things, and they were really hot for Naomi's return, which really surprised me. But everything else, it felt really flat, and walking away from this, you feel like Naomi, now that she's apparently back to 100%, like, what was the point of her getting rid of the title? She's going to be ready now. And two, it's pretty obvious she's going to win it back now, so, yeah.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing about all this, is they spend a lot of time on it. Mm-hmm. Bad thing about it, it does nothing for you. Not one bit. And that sounds very arrogant on my point to say, but I'm just being very honest. And, I think maybe the largest part about this entire thing is that last piece of information that you just told us, Paul, right? Mm-hmm. It's that Naomi's back, and she's going to, join and be a part of this whole fiasco of a match. And, once again, I hate saying that because I really had high hopes. I thought they were going to do some things here that would really make it more defined to make it maybe even more interesting. And I just don't think they did it here. I mean, cool, glad for Naomi. I mean, I'm glad that she's going to be healthy enough to be a part of this match. That's awesome. I just don't think that they really made you feel any different than you did last week, the week before. The week before that, you could go far, far back, because we already walk into this situation knowing it's going to be chaotic. And that doesn't really interest you because it's just chaos. You want to see a really good match. And that's what concerns me, Paul. I mean, I really wish they would have came out and did exactly what we talked about on Raw. Like, oh, man, well, they did it on, the Raw women's division. They really kind of defined some things, made everybody feel important coming out of this week's Raw. SmackDown, you feel the same. That's a downgrade. That's not good. I'm kind of bummed.
I'm bummed too. There's a lot of talent in this division. Some of it they've done very well by. Other parts of it have largely either flopped or just sort of been tossed to the wayside in ways. And to each of the participants' degree here, some of them are very over and some of them are very not over. And some of them are just there. We know now it's a six-pack challenge. This match is going to be on the pre-show, which, judging by the build, unfortunately, this is probably one of those matches that should probably be there, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be overly invested in it, unfortunately. And to another degree, I feel equally as bad for them, because I felt like they had a hot match with Alexa Bliss maybe challenging Naomi again or something like that at the match, and then the injury happened, and then they had to kind of throw it all up in the air. And to that end, at least they were prepared that everybody in the division had at least had something going for them. And I see where they wanted to go, but they just never really got there. And I don't think they knew what to do in the short time to really get themselves there. And it's a crying shame.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at this, Paul, I mean, I think you mentioned something there about, the fact that they had the injury in Naomi, which kind of screwed up their plans. But I think that they really had a great backup plan if they wanted to go with it, and that is Mickie James versus Alexa Bliss. Mm-hmm. I think that would have been just fine. I think that would have been a compelling storyline because of the promise that was broken between the two. And I think a lot of our conversation would be totally more on the positive end than maybe the end we're talking about. I think that they're trying to get a lot of these other people involved to hopefully get over in this match. I think they're really depending on this match to get in front of people's faces, and then someone like Carmella do really well, and people are like, you know what, we were a hater, but now, oh man, awesome, did a great match at WrestleMania, we're on board. I don't think you're going to get that, even if you try it. And I just think that they're kind of spiting themselves by doing this. I hope it's better than I'm thinking, and I think you're right. You said you think Alexa Bliss is probably going to be the winner coming out of this whole thing. I think you're right, because out of this right now, I just don't have any hopes that anything can be better at this point.
Oh, I was thinking Naomi was going to be.
Oh, Naomi.
Yeah.
Oh, you think Naomi? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the other end. I think Alexa Bliss is going to be the of it, but that we'll get more into that on the predictions. But right now, as we sit here on Tuesday night, I really feel like it is going to be Bliss again. I just feel like that makes the most sense for me. Naomi winning it back is fine, but I don't think that's exciting for me. I think that the journey for her to get back to where she once was would be more compelling.
There's a fair point in that, but it's WrestleMania. It's in her hometown. She has this huge reaction to her coming in and beating up everybody. Like, that seems pretty clear cut on what they're going to do here to me. But it is, I mean, they could shock me. You never know with this the way they book sometimes. So
yeah, you're right on that you don't know. It's WrestleMania. That's what's cool about it, is anything can happen. We can all sit here and predict all day, but none of us are probably going to get that perfect score. So
let's go and get the other thing that was a tad bit disappointing for me, and that's Bray Wyatt taking on Luke Harper here in the main event. First off, Harper gets a promo earlier in the night where he really expresses, I think, very well how Wyatt sort of tossed him aside in to sort of please Wyatt's own vanity and his own ego that he is the greatest and he could have tamed the Viper and all these different things, but now it's his turn to be the one who should run. They have a short little 8-minute match. I think Harper gets to come out pretty strong at the beginning. And then they have this sort of weird moment at the end, which leaves things sort of interesting. Harper looks set to go for his spinning lariat. Wyatt sort of poses in front of him and sort of dead stares Harper and makes him hesitate for a little bit, and then catches him and Sister Abigail. And I think it opens up a lot of things for these two, maybe after WrestleMania or wherever they're going to go with this. But Luke has yet to look really strong coming out of all this, and I love the promo time he's been getting, because I think it's done him a lot of favors, and I think people are interested. I don't think it's enough to come across on camera, though. And after this match, Orton gets a pre-tape thing where he's at Abigail's grave, and he has the little symbol that Wyatt had last week, and he shoves it into Abigail's grave to sort of apparently negate her powers, and I guess to make Wyatt mortal, or however they're going to try to explain this. But Orton is ready for Sunday, it appears. So is Bray, and I'm still looking forward to this match. But since the fire escapade, I think it's cooled down. Like, I don't think it's nearly, pardon the pun, as hot as it was.
I think you're right on that. And the reason I say that is because they try to do this video package, and it's supposed to have that same ambience of, you thought, you got a chance to get back at me. Well, guess what? I'm one-upping you again, Bray. I'm back here at the same spot, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that you can overdo something, and I think we're at the point they're overdoing that. Mm-hmm. I think really, honestly, and maybe it's too cliche, maybe it's the same thing as always when we talk about, getting closer to a big pay-per-view, or especially WrestleMania, have Randy Orton actually there. Actually have him stare Bray down as the show goes off the air, or have him, have Bray Wyatt celebrating after beating Luke Harper, and then RKO out of nowhere, mm-hmm. Right? Something that puts that, in everybody's mind that, oh man, Bray, you're in for it. You're going to lose. You're in for it. He's got the one up. Maybe that's what they were trying to go with here in a different format. I just kind of thought it was a little too much. And I don't know if I'm wrong in thinking that, but for me personally, I was like, okay, I don't need to see another one of these. You've already done it twice. Kind of done with that. Let's do something different. Make me feel good about the direction of this, just in a different way. So I think you're right. The cool down is definitely here, and that's a shame, because this is supposed to be one of the biggest matches at WrestleMania. And right now it's kind of going in limping in a way.
I don't want to say limping, because I think people are into this as far as the greater audience goes. Just because, one, Randy might be as over as he's ever been right now. And Bray is as interesting, I think, as he's ever been since he came onto the scene, at least. And but it doesn't have that same excitement factor it had for a while. And you could be right. I think part of it might be that they're overdoing this whole mysterious power angle that Sister Abigail brings, and all these other things. And maybe it's just them trying to continually try to humanize Bray so he looks beatable. Because, whenever he cut the promos about him being this all-powerful being now, how do you beat that? And I don't know if the larger WWE audience is going to try to read anything into that or not. But, if we're reading a storybook, when you become all-powerful, it's kind of hard to beat you. So
Yeah, exactly. And maybe limping is a little bit strong, but I still don't feel you're going into this with a momentum that you need to.
Right.
And the reason I say that also is because when you have these type of video packages, and when you delve too much into the mystery and all that kind of surrounds this phenomena of Bray Wyatt and Sister Abigail, you get close to jumping the shark. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to jump the shark with Bray Wyatt, because once you jump that shark, Bray Wyatt has just now became Bo Dallas. And I know that's extreme, but once you take all the intrigue, all the mystery, all the magic away because you show too much. You show too much of your hand. Then what's the character now? It's like having Chris Angel in front of 100,000 people, and they're all excited to see a show. But guess what? Just before the show started, they saw behind the scenes on how he did everything. Well, how much are the people going to be excited? Not very. They'll be there just to see it actually take place, but they'll be bored. And that's what worries me about Bray Wyatt. And I don't think they're doing that right now. I know I'm going to the extreme here. But what I mean by that is when they do these kind of things, when they kind of do this whole, hey, we're going to continually talk about Sister Abigail, we're going to do this, this, and this just for one match, it gets kind of like, okay, I get it. Let's just get to the match. And so I think the match is going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting. But I kind of wish they would have came in here with a little bit more stronger momentum and more intrigue than showing your hand too much.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff like what they did at the end of tonight's show is something that maybe could have been saved for the feud if it was going to continue on past WrestleMania, and I think it does, no matter who comes out the winner here, just because I still think it's got some story left to tell as far as whether Bray, if he loses, obviously he can find different ways to come back or whatever. And if it's Randy, then obviously the vendetta really hasn't been settled if Bray's walking out with the championship. So, I mean, either way, I think you have some story to tell too. What do you think about Luke's treatment in all this?
And I definitely want to talk about Luke Harper because, he's an interesting guy himself, and I really appreciate him. Before I do talk about Luke, I want to make one last comment about Bray Wyatt. I want to go back to your humanization of Bray Wyatt. I agree on that. They are trying to, but I do want to say a big positive thing. I love the all-encompassing power that Bray Wyatt assumes to have now. Mm-hmm. I love that, especially going into WrestleMania. Now it's almost like, hey, you know what? If we were all just going to pencil in Randy Orton as the new WWE champion at WrestleMania, but maybe we shouldn't. That's right. What I like about that. So very positive on that. Harper, in this match itself, they did the right thing. He had to take the loss because, he's not going into one of the biggest spots at WrestleMania. But he looked awfully great in this match because, and it wasn't the best match I think that these two could have, but I think it was an awfully good one. I think it did a good job ending SmackDown. But I will say this. I love the fact that he got an opportunity to get, a hair away from beating Bray Wyatt, the champion. The guy that was his mentor, the guy that he followed. I love that. It gives me hope that they are going to take Harper in a positive direction. I feel like they want to. I really, really do. At this point, though, after the whole Bray Wyatt thing, or if they're going to continue it, I think they're going to have to find a big direction to take him on. But I do feel a little bit more positive about what he's doing. I wish he would have kept the white clothes, though. I love dirty Luke Harper. He looks a little too clean with all black. I'm sorry. I love the fact that he's kind of dirty, looking like he's a giant mechanic. I love that.
I love that look too. It's the one I've grown accustomed to watching him even before he got to WWE and NXT and all that. But I think the new look is nice. It at least is reflective of the story, and he's a new man. He's sort of much cleaner now. He's like almost taking care of himself in a way, right? I mean, black is slimming. He has his hair all looking nice and not just crazy frayed out everywhere. And I think there's something to that, and especially something to the look. I mean, even before we got to this point where Luke rejoined the family, when he was on his singles run, there was always something about his eyes that they never really touched on. Like, obviously, it was part of his video package entrance and all these other things. So, I'd like to see them maybe dive into that a little bit more if Harper's going to keep feuding with Bray and even Randy after this. So,
and you bring out his eyes and the way he kind of has that crazed look in him. It really takes you to the point of, man, he would be a great heel. Mm-hmm. But then again, I mean, it's so funny we say this, Paul, but he's a great babyface too.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about this guy, but he really is a great babyface. And I think that they could take him on a journey similar to Bray Wyatt, not like Bray Wyatt, but similar, of he's a little dark, he's a little bit creepy, but on the other hand, he's a guy that you want on your side. He's like that bully in school that, if you become friends with, you're happy every day because, he may be a little bit weird, but at least he can, be the guy that you need to take down all the other bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. I think right now, where I sit, I'm still on the kind of watch and wait. Mm-hmm. But at least right now, the needle for me is pointing up for, Luke Harper. So that's good for me.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for this guy. He's an incredibly talented in-ring performer. I think he's shown he can more than hold his own on promos too. And for a show that is missing a strong mid-card, Luke could definitely be a big piece of that going forward from here. Or if they want to move him up along with, keep him up in the upper card too with Bray and Randy, that's totally fine with me too.
Same here. I agree.
Let's talk what I think was the best part of the show, my personal favorite part of the show, and that is more of Miz and Maryse doing Total Bella stuff. This was just wonderful. So Miz and Maryse, they're making fun of the dinner scenes and stuff with Cena, and they introduce Daniel Bryan and Brie, and Miz comes in walking on his knees, and he's got this ridiculous beard and everything. Great. So perfect. Basically, they make fun of the rules some more, and then Nikki's finally had enough in this and proposes to John Cena. And Miz and Maryse cut back to the arena and take a commercial break. And then we come back, and Cena says no to the marriage because it will damage his brand, and then starts firing, off all these reasons of what hustle, loyalty, and respect really means, and never give up, and all these other things. And then they take the serious moment. They strip off all the gimmickry and really just absolutely run Cena and Nikki down. Maryse maybe having the most cutting line I've ever heard in the last 2 years of wrestling, of saying that she might as well enjoy Cena being on the Kids' Choice Award because that's the closest they're ever going to have to having kids, which is just straight up brutal.
Oh, man, yeah.
And then we come back to the ring, and Miz and Maryse are happy that they've got one over, and John and Nikki come out and say their piece, and John is rather pissed off. He kind of laughs off all the parody stuff and everything, and then just starts laying into Miz. Even goes so far as to call him a pussy on live TV, which is just that took me aback a little bit. And then Nikki absolutely she puts the dot essentially on the exclamation point with her little bits here and there. But the Miz Maryse stuff has been priceless these last 2 weeks. I've absolutely enjoyed them. I think Cena maybe had a little too much time on the microphone, but him and Nikki more than held up their end of the bargain in this too. And I don't know if I'm still 100% hyped into this match, but they've done a very good job of building this up.
You know what? And I got a lot of things to say about this, and I will say this about your, thought process on, they did a good job of hyping this up. Really, they really did. Mm-hmm. Why do I say that? Because now after this, I'm more emotionally involved. And I know that sounds weird, but I really am more emotionally involved because I want Miz and Maryse to destroy them so badly, Paul. Mm-hmm. Like, if someone told me, okay, Gary, the only way that they'll actually win this match is if you skip watching, the last two matches on the card, the best matches on WrestleMania, I'm in. Let's do it. I'll read about it on the internet. Heck, I won't even ask about it. I won't even watch the rest of WrestleMania. I'll just watch the Raw after, because that's how much I want Miz and Maryse to just beat them down. That's good though, Paul. That's an excellent thing because now you got me invested in something, and that leads to good things if you're a fan, and that leads to good things if you're WWE. And so, that's very, very positive. And before I even, saw this, when I heard about them even rumoring this match, I was so I just wanted to pull my hair out. This is the dumbest thing. They've made this a lot better than I ever expected. I love those video packages. I mean, Miz and Maryse have really done a great job with those. Those are hilarious. Every bit of it was funny. The Daniel Bryan stuff you just mentioned, Paul, all of it was great. And it had a lot of cut downs, but it was perfect parody. I mean, you couldn't do any better on SNL.
Yeah.
These guys matched up with what SNL offers every weekend. So all the credit in the world to WWE's production team, all the credit in the world for both Maryse and The Miz. Excellent job. Really, they do have talent, I'm telling you. Going to the actual segment itself, and when you do bring John Cena and Nikki and get them involved in this, I was very curious to see how this would work out, because it was going to happen one or two ways. A brawl, or John Cena gets to put you down, kind of cut your testicles off, kind of like what Stephanie McMahon does on Raw. They have one on each show, right? They have John Cena do it for him on SmackDown and Stephanie McMahon on Raw. And that's what they proceeded to do, to make, all that good stuff we just saw, all that funny comedy, go away with John Cena basically ripping apart Miz. And Miz does not get to rebuttal at all. This is what always happens. Miz never gets to touch the mic again once John Cena talks. It's almost a backstage rule, I don't want to hear him say anything. Don't let him say anything. I'm going to, cut his testicles off, and then I get to go home happy. And that, to me, kind of bummed me out for a minute, because I thought to myself, okay, going into WrestleMania, this is an almost assured win for John Cena and Nikki Bella, especially if John Cena is going to propose at WrestleMania. That means I leave SmackDown as them winning. I go to WrestleMania, they're winning. I just think that kind of sucks. I really felt like this is a situation where maybe that supposed heel team should have done something to, kind of mix things up. That way, when we got to WrestleMania, it's something different. I don't know, Paul. Maybe I'm looking too much into that, but I was kind of bummed out about that. I think they did is it too weird to say this, but they kind of, they jab each other, but they take too long to do it on either side.
Mm-hmm. I think you make a lot of fair points, and the thing I'm going to rebuttal with is this. When we're looking at 2017 at the end of this year, thinking about all the really neat stuff that WWE did, I think people are going to remember Miz and Maryse bagging on Total Bellas. I don't think they're going to remember a single thing John Cena said in rebuttal. And I think that's sort of where he wins out here. Just because, for me, I'm like, last November was, I think, or November, October was when Miz cut down Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack, and I think people are still talking about that. So I think Miz, to his credit, I don't know if he's the best heel in the WWE right now, but I would definitely say top 3, especially when it comes to bringing the goods on the microphone, or in these segments, or however they're going to have him go about feuding with you. Since the draft, and even before then, when they start pairing him with Maryse again, or for the first time, excuse me, he's just been absolute money. Like, it's a whole new character almost, and that's certainly something I want to keep in mind going forward too, because I think he would make a dynamite challenger to the WWE title down the road on, wherever he is, whether he's still on SmackDown or whatever. But when it comes to John in this situation, he's typical hyped up John, which is great, because I think, like I said, his promo here is good. I don't want to take away from that. It is long, though, and I'm with you on the fact that Miz and Maryse don't necessarily get to look strong, but at the other end of the spectrum, I feel like everything they've done has been more memorable.
You bring a good point there, and touche, because I totally agree with everything you said, because I still, to this day, think about that Talking Smack with The Miz. I really do. And I think, I probably will be, 6 months from now, thinking back on some of the great things we saw in Raw and SmackDown. And, what The Miz and Maryse did here with these video packages probably will stick with me for quite a while. So I think that's a fair point. And we talk about this a lot after WrestleMania, right? Because we always say, "Oh, this didn't happen at WrestleMania, and I really wanted that to happen." But 2 months later, we've already forgotten about it. It's not that big a deal. So, as much as right now, I want to see Miz and Maryse win. If they don't, I won't lose any sleep that night over it, and I will be okay moving forward. It's just me personally, just wanting to see, the Miz do well. Right now, as it sits, and it's kind of funny to say this, Paul, because this is the end of the year awards kind of thing I'm going to be talking about. Last year, we've all voted as this, on W2M, we voted Broken Matt Hardy as the most entertaining wrestler of last year. Right now, as it sits, I think the Miz is the most entertaining wrestler for me right now. Matt Hardy's not right now doing what Miz is. Miz is really entertaining us. He's great on the mic. If he continues on this path, that's who I'm voting for. I don't know if you are or Sean is, but that's who I am voting for if he continues on this path. And it's a very positive path. I'm excited about it. And like I said, I don't want people to think I'm just hating on John Cena because it's John Cena. I think John Cena did a great job. In fact, he went a little bit further than maybe I ever would have thought he would. For him to say a swear word on live TV at all, that kind of takes you aback because you think of, what's John Cena? Fruity Pebbles, merchandise, kids. That's what he's all about. For him to use that kind of language, it kind of takes you aback like, wow, they're taking this serious. They're actually getting into this. And so I think it's cool. I think this will actually be a bit more entertaining than I really originally gave it credit for because of all the reasons we just said. I think all involved are fairly entertaining. I think still, though, at the forefront of this, it is John Cena and The Miz that we're really focusing on. They're trying to get Nikki and Maryse to matter, but they still don't. It's a secret. Don't tell anyone. But they still don't matter that much. But what they did in this segment is they kind of made it matter more because John Cena cuts Maryse down pretty bad. And, basically says, he's earning his check, but you're not. So I kind of like that because it made her mean more into this process as well. I'm looking forward to it in a way, but in a way I'm not. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I just love this, though.
Yeah, I love this segment, and I guess to sort of try to put a bow on this, because I feel like we talked about this for a long time. I really hope that we get a stellar performance from both sides here. Maryse hasn't been in the ring in a while. You look at all the rest of the pieces here, and Nikki can hold her own, John can hold his own, Miz can hold his own. So we could get something pretty cool out of this. And I think, I don't think anybody's really changed their minds on who's going to win this. So look, it's going to be the John Cena Nikki Bella show at the end of the match, but putting on the match and getting there, and maybe I don't know, maybe they tease us, or they could go the fully opposite way, or however they're going to go about doing this. What I really just want to see is something that makes sure that people are talking about Miz and Maryse looking really good in this match. I don't want to come on the review show after WrestleMania and be like, man, they just felt like an afterthought, or man, they just really sucked it up out there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm going to keep my expectations at an average to low level, but I think that'll help me be more excited about it once we actually see it. So,
and let's just go ahead and get this out of the way because this is a fairly nothing part of the show. Although I found this funny, Tyler Breeze shows up still as Breezy Bella, while Daniel Bryan is apparently on the phone with his wife, and Bryan goes, "Hold on, your sister just walked into the room," and hangs up, and that's when Breezy Bella walks in. And apparently we're just doing away with the entire SmackDown Tag Team title defense and throwing them into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, because that's how Breezango go here. They get slotted into this 10-man tag featuring a bunch of the participants that SmackDown has going into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So you have Heath Slater, Rhino, Mojo Rawley, and American Alpha taking on the Usos, Dolph Ziggler, and Breezango. Gets about 10 minutes. Perfectly fine match. The ending is really hot once you have people kicking and throwing and doing all the moves on each other. And Mojo Rawley actually ends up getting the victory here with this big forearm on Dolph, if I remember correctly, and gets the win for his team. You care about any of these guys going into that match?
You know, I can't say that really I'm overly impressed. I think they did a good job in this match. I think it's something they had to do on this episode of SmackDown to keep people, interested in the show because there was a lot of talking.
Mhm.
So I think that it was good for what it was worth, right? It was worth, getting a chance to see all these guys in the ring and do what they do best. I think really what I get out of this, though, is they really, for some reason or some way, really want to push Mojo Riley. And I'm not against that at all. I have no problems with Mojo Riley. I think that he could be something if, given the right circumstances. But I'm a little bit shocked. I just really never saw that coming. It's kind of out of left field for me. So saying that, I think, everything was good. We get, an ending where I'm, a little surprised on who they chose to, get the pinfall. Outside of that, though, it was nothing super spectacular, nothing that really gets you pumped for WrestleMania, at least on my end.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it does either. And I guess to sort of expand upon this, whenever they showed the graphic, whenever they were doing the hard sell for WrestleMania here on SmackDown, which is much more toned down than what we got on Raw, thankfully.
Yeah.
For the Andre the Giant Battle Royal graphic, it has Braun Strowman and Big Show really big up in the front and center. You have Sami Zayn and Dolph Ziggler and a couple other of the bigger names, sort of smaller than them, but still in the foreground behind them. And then everybody else is just little small heads behind them. So really telling you who you should pay attention to and who's going to win. Or who's going to be there at the end, pretty much.
Yeah. It's almost a giveaway, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, hey, just to let you know, pay attention to those two. I do want to say the fact that you do have a guy, Mojo Rawley, who does very well in these matches.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's another guy, especially after winning this match on this, episode, you kind of feel like you got to watch Mojo Rawley, even though we all know, like the picture says, Big Show and I'm already. You just said his name and I blanked on it.
Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman. Thank you. I wanted to say the bear. He always makes you think of a bear. So
he does
big.
look like a bear. I mean,
yeah. I know. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think we still need to pay attention to Mojo Rawley because he is a specialist at these matches in his early career.
Yeah, and to be fair, at the end when he got the victory, that crowd did give him a pretty decent pop, and we got to see him a lot in NXT, and I don't think he ever really got over, and that is obviously not the crowd I think he's geared towards. A very pro wrestling, wanting to see big names do big things in NXT sort of crowd. And Mojo is just kind of off to the side, and he gets cheers. He's a big energy guy. It's kind of hard not to cheer whenever somebody comes out trying to so hyped that he's just trying to get you into everything. But I feel like on these larger, main roster shows, this is what he's been geared for. So being this plucky, highly energetic mid-card could turn out to be a really solid role for him.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope things are good for him in the future. They're doing really well with him right now, so let's see where he goes. But hey, heck, if he does win the Battle Royal, I mean that would do wonders for him.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going to happen, but
No.
I mean, just imagine. Just imagine if it did, though, how we would be talking about him for a while. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So last but not least on this show. This is the opening segment that we saved for last, and I absolutely adored this segment too because I think they did this incredibly well. Shane McMahon and AJ Styles do the contract signing. Daniel Bryan brings them both out. They both have a seat. Shane talks about his vision for SmackDown being the land of opportunity, which has had some successes and some not so successes, but he glosses over it and paints a really pretty picture. And he says that AJ was always part of that vision, and that no matter what has happened or what will happen, Shane thinks Styles is, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and it's hard to really deny that assessment. AJ agrees with him and says, I've done all these things, and, look at me. And Shane's like, right, look at you. Your ego's taken over. You've become arrogant. That's what cost you the WWE title. That's what's cost you opportunities to be at WrestleMania. And if you hadn't done what you did, you wouldn't have ever been on there. You wouldn't have had this platform to show just how phenomenal you really are. And when people wrestle me, they have to dig down deep and find something, because whenever they realize that they're in the ring with me and I'm doing all this crazy stuff, that they're not getting what they expected. And so he signs his contract. And then AJ goes on his spiel about how, it's not these crazy matches you've been in, Shane. It's not all these high spots or Hell in a Cells or no disqualifications. It's a one-on-one wrestling match, and that's where I am untouchable. That's where I'm the best. So if you want to wrestle or throw hands or fly around the ring, I'm just going to embarrass you on absolutely every level. And you face all these big names, but you haven't faced me. I'm the best. He signs. And as it looks like they're about to get physical, Daniel Bryan jumps in, breaks him up, and he wants him to shake hands. Styles ain't going to do that. He just walks off because he's, phenomenal. So I absolutely loved this segment. Once again, a match I had absolutely zero interest in when we first heard about it. I'm interested.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I think a lot of us were complaining about this match because it was a wasted opportunity for AJ Styles. Mm-hmm. It was a match that really kind of felt like it was forced upon him. And to be honest with you, when you found out later on, it was just because of the fact that HBK said no, we're getting Shane. Which, you know what? The way that they're doing this, the way that they've kind of presented it, I'm getting closer and closer to being like, you know what? This is actually a good idea. And that's kind of odd. But that means that they're really kind of starting to sell you on it. And I think this segment really does a lot, and I mean a lot of good for explaining why they're having this match, what this match means, and of course some backstory on both these guys. And, it's kind of funny because AJ kind of runs down this laundry list of, big names that Shane has been in the ring with, and you think to yourself, wow, anybody of any caliber would just be, dreaming of that to happen to them, to face those kind of names. And so it speaks very well for Shane and for AJ Styles to come in and say, look, man, I'm the best that's ever done this. You've never faced me. I love that. Mm-hmm. And that Shane McMahon's going to give his all. And Shane even tells him that. He, really goes to that whole thing of, when you face me, you better bring your A game, because I've faced the best before, and they've had to have their A game. So that's really, really cool. I think this brings us to a point now where we're kind of excited to see what's going to happen. I know I am. I know I'm really looking forward to seeing what Shane's going to do against such an accomplished wrestler. And it's going to give us a whole different perspective than I think we were originally thinking about this match. And the handshake at the end was kind of a funny thing, too, because I really wish AJ would have looked at Daniel Bryan and says, this isn't the cruiserweight division, and walked out.
Yeah, they're on after us, man. We're on the
show. So, I don't know, man. It's good stuff for me, actually, with this.
Yeah, like I said, I loved this promo. They've really hit on this, and for 3 weeks of build, it's been terrific. And, AJ says, it's going to, we can do all these things, but it's a one-on-one match. It's a wrestling match. And I just feel like before their match or whenever on WrestleMania, Shane is going to come out and say, you know what, I mean, I'm the boss around here. I can make the rules. I feel like we're going to get a no-holds-barred out of this, so.
Which is, I mean, honestly, a really good idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know Shane McMahon is not as young as he used to be, but man, if he does anything close to what he has done in the past, a no-holds-barred match is going to be right up his alley.
Right.
I mean, my God, that guy can put his body through some damage. Mm-hmm. And just imagining what kind of crazy things they can do with AJ and him in that type of match, it really does get you kind of excited. And I mean, like I said, that would be something that would really make me want to watch it even more.
Right. I completely agree with you. It plays to Shane's strengths, and we don't have to try to watch him throw punches and wrestle in a straight one-on-one match, which is what, it's not what people want to see whenever they watch Shane McMahon in the ring anyway, so.
Yeah.
I think with all that being said, that's everything on SmackDown here, Gary. Let's put a number on it. What's you rating this bad boy?
I think they did a fairly well job on some of these feuds. We just talked about one right there. I think there's other ones, and especially the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't really go that well. I think compared to what I gave Raw, I think even though the SmackDown only had 2 hours, I felt like it had some great things, but yet it still had some things where I'm sitting here still scratching my head. I mean, in less than a week till WrestleMania. So I'm going to give it a 6. It was entertaining, but yet there were some points where I was like, God, I need more. I need more explanation, or I need something else to get me ready to go and get excited for WrestleMania.
I'm right there with you. I think 6 fits the bill. Shane and AJ had some great build here. Cena, Nikki, Maryse, Miz all had great build. I could have used more for the women for sure, or at least something better, because they did get a lot of time. They just didn't do a whole lot more to really expand upon that other than that Naomi to the match. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, I felt like could have used something different, something more to expand upon it than what we got. We got nothing for Ambrose and Corbin.
My God.
Yeah, just a promo from them would have been great,
Something, for God's sakes, right? I mean, especially, this is one of your, titles we're talking about here, and you just completely don't even put it on the show. Mm-hmm. Wow. That shows you what they think about the IC title.
I'd say it's a real shame, too, but I think you're right, Gary. 6, right on the money. Right on the money.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, you know what? That makes that we have to move on from here, and that means the next big review you're going to hear will be, of course, WrestleMania. So don't forget. I just want to let everybody know, if you're listening to this show and you're like, okay, well, these guys are going to talk WrestleMania after. Yeah, we are. We're going to have a special Wrestling to the Max WrestleMania 33 review show. You're not going to want to miss it. Trust me. Sean, Paul, and I will all be there, excited about talking about WrestleMania, all that it entails. So be looking forward to that. If you don't get a chance to hear us right after WrestleMania, Monday morning and your dock, whatever you use, iTunes or Stitcher, we will be right there and ready for you. Just make sure you subscribe to the Wrestling to the Max channel if you haven't done it already. That'll, of course, get you all our great content, especially that Wrestling to the Max WrestleMania 33 review. Also, don't forget as well, we're also going to do some NXT talk this week. We're still going to do an NXT TV taping talk, the go home show for NXT to NXT TakeOver Orlando. And of course, if you want to hear us review that show as well, that'll also be available. We'll be doing that Saturday night. So we've got a full week of wrestling to do. We're excited about doing both those shows. Wrestling to the Max is always trying to do all these great pay-per-view shows and recap and do all these great things for you. So we're definitely going to be there doing TakeOver Orlando, and we'll be doing WrestleMania 33. And so, just to let you also know, there will probably be a roundtable available on W2M I'm blowing this out of proportion. I know, I'm just in here I said it right. I just started going in a different path. W2Mnet.com. That's the place where you go read a written review and roundtable for WrestleMania. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of great people will have some great feedback there. So don't forget to go check that out as well. It just is, man, Paul, I'm excited. We still got a lot of content to get out to the people, but it's just a fun journey. WrestleMania week is a blast. I mean, it is so much fun.
No doubt about it. I mean, we're still got 205 Live to talk about this week. We'll be previewing everything this week. I'll be at least trying to keep up with all the indie stuff going on there, so if something cool has happened, I'm sure I'll bring it up on the Part 2 episode that we'll do on Thursday. It'll be Friday morning. Lots of great stuff to look forward to this week, so you don't want to miss it. I think me and Sean are even going to talk some New Japan. They did a house show, and we're going to talk about the Lionsgate on Thursday, too. So Thursday's going to be packed.
Wow. It is. And so once again, you don't forget to go, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, if you want to know everything about us, it's right there and available for you. And Paul just mentioned it, episode 240 part 2, and that'll be available Friday morning on the download for everyone. That's going to give you not only our preview for WrestleMania 33, but that's also going to give you the preview for TakeOver Orlando. So trust me, that's going to be a huge episode. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. So with all that being said, we hope you join us for all that great content. But until next time, we will see you guys down the road.
Have a good one, guys.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.